Hello everybody, the Lawn Gnome is here.
Charlie's gonna dig you.
But today we're going to be talking about one of my most highly anticipated films of 2019, and it is no surprise, especially when it comes from one of the greatest directors of a generation. And that, of course, is the 9th studio film from Quentin Tarentino, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, starring the powerhouses Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, and Margot Robbie. Not to mention a slew of other great actors scattered throughout this movie, including Deadwood's Timothy Olyphant, Al Pacino, the late Luke Perry, Dakota Fanning, and Emile Hirsch. So this is the story about an aging former star of Hollywood television and film named Rick Dalton in the late 1960s, particularly in the year of 1969, as well as his stuntman, Cliff Booth, who happens to be someone who is more than just a stuntman. This is a guy that is a good friend to Rick Dalton, who will help him out of any particular jam, and this is basically the story of them in a couple of days in their own personal lives in Hollywood together, when Rick Dalton needs to go try out for some new auditions for shows and even filming some new pilots to try and get his career back on track. But what they don't know is that there's something else looming in the underbelly of the Los Angeles and Hollywood landscape, and it happens to be a commune, a former film studio's lot that is actually where the notorious Charles Manson and the Manson family are residing. So I was so excited to see this movie just because of the fact that when it comes to Quentin Tarantino films, I always love what he offers because he brings some of the most freshest and craziest films to life. Now, do I think that this movie is better than some of the great films that he has already given us? Not to say that all the films that he has given to us are not great, but is this movie one that would surpass the likings of, let's say, Pulp Fiction, or Inglourious Basterds, or Django Unchained? Well, after seeing this movie, I am definitely going to say that the answer is no, but this movie is going to be one of the most talked about films of 2019 because it is definitely one of the most standout films of 2019. It is also an extremely slow burn, and when it comes to Quentin Tarantino movies, there are many of his films that are tremendous slow burns. They are very subtle, they're very dialogue driven, there's some great one-liners and jokes peppered in here and there, but even though they are a very intimate watch, if you will, you are going to just absorb everything that you see like a big sponge. I absolutely love Quentin Tarantino for the fact that when it comes to actors that he picks for his movies, he truly brings out the best in them. Some of the people that are in this movie, including Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, have worked with Quentin Tarantino before. And he has definitely brought out some of their best performances. But a lot of these actors in this film, like Margot Robbie, Emile Hirsch, these are people that have never done work with this guy. We even have small moments where actors just come right out of the blue, like Ian Lewis from Homeland, who plays a version of Steve McQueen. There are also so many other famous faces that just dive deep into their characters, and even if they don't have a speaking role, they have a presence. We have Maya Hawke from Stranger Things, Harley Quinn Smith, who is, of course, the well-known daughter of the great Kevin Smith. We even have some famous faces like Michael Madsen and Bruce Dern who have worked with Quentin Tarantino, and sometimes you can't even recognize these people on screen just because of the fact that when it comes to a Quentin Tarantino film, he really creates characters that you observe, characters that you follow, characters that you just grow to love or hate in such a great way. But seeing Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt in a Quentin Tarantino film side by side is, dare I be a little cliche, absolute magic. But it's not just the characters. The whole atmosphere of the film, the late 1960s in Hollywood, all of the great toe-tapping, finger-snapping songs that you hear, some familiar, some new to you. The whole story just envelops you. You truly get lost in this crazy story. Also, one of the standout moments in this movie is the scene where Bill Pitt's character Cliff works out and does a little sparring with Bruce Lee in his Green Hornet days, played by someone who I never heard of named Mike Moe, and his performance is just absolutely stellar. You really feel like Bruce Lee is on screen in this movie. There's also some great production value in this movie. I loved this one particular scene where they actually wove Leonardo DiCaprio into the opening scene of one of the most greatest films of all time, and to actually see the technology to make it look as if Leonardo DiCaprio was actually in that movie was just absolutely incredible, and I loved it. Now, even though this movie is a slow burn, you know that it's not going to be a patented Quentin Tarantino movie without a spectacular finale with some outrageous action, and I will just say this, for one of the slowest burns that I've ever gotten in a Quentin Tarantino film, when that fast-paced climax hits you, it hits you like a brick for the fact that your eyes start bugging out of your head and your jaw is hitting the floor because you just cannot believe that all of these moments in this story just built up to this absolutely gargantuan, epic finale that will just leave you breathless, and then it gets nice and quiet again. And of course, the movie is called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, so the events that take place in this movie did actually happen. However, we have also seen that when it comes to Quentin Tarantino's film, he puts his own little creative spin on how things could have happened. So the fact that Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth are a part of this story really changes the whole landscape of the whole Manson family and all of the events that took place when he was in fact not in prison. Also, just on a personal side note, the highlight of this film is without a doubt Cliff's little pit bull, Brandy. She is without a doubt one of the best parts of this whole movie, and even though she is a dog, the things that she does in this film, I have to give props to the people who trained this dog, because this was one of the best performances that I have ever seen from an actual animal in film. I cannot recommend Once Upon a Time in Hollywood enough, especially if you are a Quentin Tarantino fan. You're gonna love all the people in this movie, you're gonna love everything that this movie is about. Will it end up being your favorite? It could possibly be, but I know for a solid fact that it is not one of mine, but it is definitely still a great Tarantino film. I do want to see this movie again, and I definitely want to own this movie on DVD. It is one of the best films that I have seen in 2019, and I'm so glad that Quentin Tarantino, at least in my eyes, has not lost his step and gave me another true standout masterpiece that I really hope gets Oscar accolades in the ceremonies in the upcoming months. So I am going to give Once Upon a Time in Hollywood a very, very strong 3.5 stars out of 4. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please leave your comments in the box below, and let's discuss Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I will see you in the next one. The morning sun is shining like a red rubber ball. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you're new here and want to see more of what my channel has to offer, please click on the link to my last video, or hit that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of my uploads. Content of all sorts is posted here quite often, so trust me, you do not want to fall behind. I will see you in the comments, and actions speak louder than words.